Thank you.
I don't like sitting next to people. So I just sit next to my backpack.
All right, so you have all your materials, which we'll take a look at here in a second. And then when you do accept, maybe, here we go, your invitation to Google Classroom, you'll see a page that'll end up looking like this. The daily agendas, the things that I just had, I keep loaded on here. Under the topics on the left side is where I would keep things like note presentations, some websites that we'll be looking at, weekly syllabus, and all that kind of stuff. As we get into some vocabulary terms, quiz links and whatnot will be on there as well. So it'll be a thing that I pretty much show you every day. But then as we start getting the laptops, I'll help you kind of set up some things with it. All right. For this week, and keep in mind it's already Tuesday, not Monday. Today we're basically going to run through all materials with the course syllabus, all that stuff, just so you kind of know what's going on. Tomorrow and Thursday, so Wednesday and Thursday is when we'll start doing some things so far as intro to rhetoric and kind of giving you an idea of what direction we're going to go with. Friday, you have reading assignment. You have 2 articles. Actually, first one's a short story. You have The Lottery, short story by Shirley Jackson. Anyone read The Lottery? I don't know if you have. Well, yeah, you did, since you left after like a week last semester. If you've read The Lottery before, don't say anything. Let other people read it, and then we'll be able to kind of talk about it on Friday. It's 6 pages, so it's not a long story. On page 7, there's then an article, which is nonfiction, which is Why Don't We Complain, where you have a writer in 1960s literally asking, why don't we complain about stuff? There is a link between the 2 texts. Might not seem all that obvious as you're reading through them. You'll probably have more of a charged reaction to the first one, I would think, of the short story than the second one. But on Friday, we'll kind of talk about those things a little bit. So for Friday, your reading check quiz is going to be on both texts, the lottery and then the article. They're multiple choice questions. It'll be 5 questions on the story and then 5 questions on the article. Should, take like 4 minutes to kind of answer all those questions. You're not writing an essay or anything like that, unless you want to. But I won't read it. I read enough of yourself. Okay, glad we got that. The other thing then on Friday that I'm going to collect from you is the value assignment, the lottery homework assignment, which I think I included here. Yep. This is pretty straightforward. It is 2 sides to it, just so you keep that in mind. First part's talking about traditional values and cultural traditions, which this will kind of line up with the lottery. And then on the back, I do need you to write something, which I will take a look at. First part, I need you to find somebody. It could be a person that's in the room, it could be a person that you sit next to at lunch, study hall, homeroom, could be a person at home, could be parent, could be sibling, could be significant other. It can't be your pet cat, dog, or stuffed animal. They have to be living, breathing, semi-intelligent. I don't know any comment about that, but I don't do that quite yet. What I need you to do is you come up with a list of values that are important, significant to you. They could be abstract. For some of you, it might be more material type thing, but 5 values that you hold dear. So it could be somewhat abstract in the sense of education, going to Duquesne, maybe like family, love, humor, loyalty, those kinds of things. Others of you, you might like value certain items. Obviously, one that tends to come up quite a bit is money, but maybe there are significant possessions that you have that you value. So it could kind of be a mix of how you want that to be. The other side, then you're going to pick someone. Again, they could be in this room. That's perfectly fine. Could be someone else outside of the room. Don't have an issue with that. Where they make a list of what their values would be. So I need you to find a person, make a list, then they make a list. Don't make the person up. Find someone who can at least put like 5 things down on paper for you that they value. Again, does not have to be same age. It could be younger siblings and cousins tend to be fun. Like when they're 4 or 5, you might have to do the writing for them. you might need someone to do the writing for you more to think about it. But the things that they end up valuing tend to be kind of interesting, whether it be, Legos, Hot Wheels, stuffed animals. Some of you value stuffed animals.
Huh.
I'm trying to think what your stuffed animal would be.
Oh, my stuffed animal? I have one, I think. I think it's like a lemur.
Let's say porcupine.
Oh, I have a cow. Yeah.
Not life size, I hope.
No, it's pretty big.
So,
It's Moana.
Are you the guy that goes to like Cedar Point and Kennywood and has to get the biggest stuffed animal
No.
and then like carries it on your back the whole time?
No, I'm not paying all that money.
Okay. Then, after you have the values, just some questions for you to answer of values that appear on both lists. And they don't have to be worded exactly the same way. If someone has trustworthiness and another person has loyalty, you could certainly argue that those appear on both lists. That's not to say that you might not have lists where there are not any similarities. That certainly could happen. So you could go, there aren't any. What account for similarities between the two lists? Even if you might not have any that are going to be appearing on both lists, there certainly could still be some similarities that would account for it. So you could be looking at things if you're dealing with a sibling, same family. If you have a close friend, you probably have interests that are similar. There might be some things so far as age. There could be similarities based on gender, things of that nature. So you can certainly kind of think about what would be some reasons for those similarities. At the same time, you would also want to take what are accounts for the dissimilarities, so where things tend to be a little bit different. Could also be age, could be gender. If you're taking a look at a parent versus what you write, or some kind of adult, could be teacher, there's probably going to be some differences there based on age and things of that nature. For the how similar were your rankings, meant to be different from the question of which appear on both lists, you could have similarities even though you have total different terms in that they are all still dealing with how people should treat one another. You could have similar word rankings where, ownership of certain things are important. So I don't want you just going, yes, no, not similar, very similar, but give like at least a little bit of an explanation for at least a sentence or two, just so we can kind of get some thought process with it. If after you make your list, you're taking a look at it and go, I don't know how I can write a couple sentences, come see me and I can try to give you some ideas for it. Don't come and see me as you're walking into the room, second period on Friday going, any ideas what I could write here? Because at that point, you're a little late with it. Gave you a turnover reminder so that Ray would not forget what to do. And you flip your sheet over. Then it's asking you here to write a little bit of a reaction to the lottery, the story that you just read. You are not writing about the guy in Florida who won the Mega Millions. Was it 450 million? He took the lump sum. Would you do a lump sum or annuity? I think he got 282 million. Justin take 282 million, or would you rather get 10 million a year for the rest of your life?
Probably 10 million a
I'm
year.
making up that number. I don't know if that's what it was.
Probably yearly, so I don't have to blow it all away.
Would you blow it all away? That usually means yes, you would.
Probably.
You would buy cows and try to win all the giant stuffed animals. So you are not writing about Pennsylvania Lottery, Powerball, Mega Millions. If you end up writing about that, I know for sure you did not read the story whatsoever. So make sure you are writing about her text, her story, as opposed to, generally speaking, the lottery. So is the lottery morally justified? Again, you're not going to answer it, yes, it is morally justified, because by people playing the lottery, we are helping and saving Pennsylvania senior citizens and all of that kind of stuff, because we're dealing with a different kind of lottery. So is it morally justified? Is tradition sufficient justification for the actions that take place? And you have a couple more questions that are going to come after here. The big thing is you can see minimum 10 sentences. You're not writing an essay, so I'm not looking for like a formal thesis statement, introductory paragraph, and then here's your quotes and your parenthetical citation. You're just responding to it. You can certainly write it in paragraph form. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Some people will go number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, just to make sure that they hit that 10-second mark, because or 10 sentence mark, Otherwise, sometimes they'll kind of skip when they're counting periods and only write 8 sentences instead of 10. I don't have a preference what you do. I don't want your first sentence to be, "Hi, my name is Ray," and then at the end go, "the end." Make sure you do, have decent stuff coming from it. But it's not that you have to have direct quotations or anything like that. There's enough content happening in the text that you can write 10 sentences about it. That's not going to be too difficult. All right. So you have both sides. The total point value for this one, this part here will be 10 points. So if Emily writes 8 sentences, you pretty much know you're going to get 8 points as opposed to the 10. So 10 points for that. You'll have 10 points that's on the front. So this will be a 20-point homework assignment. You also have mentioned that reading check quiz on Friday. That's going to be those 10 questions. So between 20 point here, 10 points for your reading check quiz. That would be a grand total of 30. And then you bring in your syllabus signature on Monday. Those would be 5 points. I'm hoping by the end of Monday next week we have 35 out of 35, 33 out of 35. Should be in a pretty good spot before we move into some other stuff. Any questions about those things yet? Tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to do notes. I always do this disclaimer for argumentation at the beginning of the year. The first 5 or 6 weeks are going to be pretty boring. You're going to be taking a lot of notes. I told you, 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 I told you. And you're $10 million a year. What if you got $5 million a year? Versus 282 as a lump sum. I'm taking the 282. That amount of money, you invested, you just live off interest, Jack. Would you still go to Duquesne if we gave you $282 million for college?
Yeah. That's something I wanted to do.
There you go.
Yeah. More expensive, more money, and it's good. But I just go to because I have no money. Go to Harvard. Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Brewster's Millions?
No.
Do you know who Richard Pryor is?
No.
Comedian. Trying to remember when he probably died like 15, 20 years ago at this point. Very popular, 70s, 80s, all that kind of stuff. He had a movie where he inherits money, but if he can spend all the money, he inherits more money. So here's $30 million. If you can spend it all, then you can get $300 million. But you can't give it away, so you can't do charitable donations. So he's buying like baseball teams, and he bought like a stamp. Like there's the one with the airplanes like upside down. It's worth like millions of dollars or something. And then he puts it on a envelope and mails it away. So be kind of like you spending all your money to go to Yale, Oxford.
Well, I have to get into Yale too. So.
If you said, "I will pay you $20 million," I bet they'll accept you. I think it would be fair. But tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be doing some notes. Next week, we're going to be doing some notes. Honestly, I think the first couple of days is probably the most dry. And then after that, there's still going to be note taking, but I think there'll be a little bit more relevance and whatnot for you. The course basically breaks down into essentially 2 halves. First half, roughly the first 7 to 8 weeks, it's us going over background, kind of like foundations of rhetoric, terminology, things like that. You'll still be doing some speeches and talking and discussing things, as opposed to whether you want $5 million a year or $282 million. Next week you'll be doing some informal debates, not stuff that you really need to prepare for, but spar debates, spontaneous argument. So you could be arguing which is better, buttons or zippers, flip-flops or boots, that kind of stuff, just to get you up here used to speaking, talking, and things like that. But then the second half of the year is when you're kind of taking all those elements that we've talked about that you've learned and you're putting them into practice. So types of elements of eloquence, avoiding certain logical fallacies, all that kind of stuff. So first half, there's going to be a fair number of weekly quizzes, some reading assignments, stuff like that. And then as we get going, it'll turn into a little bit more project-based kind of stuff. For your big course syllabus, we're not going to break down and go through this page by page by any means, but certainly want to give you an idea of what it is that you are getting into. You're taking CHS argumentation. It is a CHS class through University of Pittsburgh where they consider it communication and rhetoric. You have the option, it is not required by any means, but you have the option to sign up for Pitt credits. It would be a total of 3 credits. So if Jack and Maddie were going to University of Pittsburgh next year, I think it would be a slam dunk that you would want to sign up for Pitt credit. What I don't know for 100%, and you kind of have to contact those schools because there's not a magical list, it still might be worth signing up, and then Maddie, Jack, whomever could transfer those credits over to a school that you decide to attend. If you do sign up for the credits, the cost for the 3 credits is $245. $245 is not cheap. It's not just money that people necessarily have laying around in an envelope or in their back pocket, unless you get the 282 million. But a credit at Pitt is probably somewhere in the $750 to $800 range. That would be per credit. So to take a 3 credit class, you could be looking at about $2,000. If you were just taking a class independently. So you could get it for roughly 10%, 13% of the price. It's a pretty good deal. If you're going to Pitt, I would sign up for it. If you're not going to Pitt, I would call Duquesne or a couple other places, Slippery Rock and whatnot, and ask them, will you accept a communication and rhetoric 0500 course from Pitt? If they do, you thank them, and then you ask them to send that confirmation in writing so that you can then, if you have a conversation later with someone at the school, well, Charlene from your registrar's office told me that I would be able to take the class. I would think, compared to some other CHS classes, you should be able to get the transfer of credits for this one because just about everyone has to take some kind of communication or public speaking class as like a liberal arts credit at college that you would go to. If you were taking CHS anatomy, I don't know, depending upon what the science requirements would be at various schools, if they would necessarily take it all the time. Or whatever the case may be. But regardless of major, you probably have to take some kind of communication class. So there's a good chance I would think that Duquesne, Slippery Rock, CMU, whole bunch of schools, Allegheny, IUP, whatever the case may be, would accept the credits. But you certainly want to make sure that they would accept it. If you go to Pitt, you obviously get the credits. You also get the grade, which would be different from like AP classes that you are getting credits based on test scores if you've taken those. So Emily decides to go to Pitt. She gets a A in this class. At Pitt, you would have a 4.0 transcript. Emily decides to go to Pitt. She takes the credits. She gets a C minus. You now have a whatever their C minus GPA would be. If you're transferring the credits, the grade does not follow. If you go to Pitt, it does. That shouldn't really be a main concern. I don't expect, D's and C minuses to be, the grade that people would end with. It happens, but, hopefully not. Any questions? CHS credits and all that stuff. The due date for the CHS credits is March the 1st, meaning that Pitt has to have the check and the forms by March the 1st. Forms you fill out online and then print them out. I'll show that stuff to you. It's all in Google Classroom and whatnot. I'll start collecting those things in like February. If you are taking any other, and I'll give you dates, as we move forward. If you're taking any other CHS classes through Pitt this semester, you're taking, I don't know, since we said Mrs. Robusky, CHS Prob Stat or something like that, you can sign up for multiple classes at one time. So you could give me a check that would cover both Prob Stat and argumentation, or you could give Senor Foster a check that would cover both CHS Spanish 12 and CHS argumentation. It does not matter. We just want to make sure we do have you marked down as to, hey, you signed up for it or no, you didn't. The syllabus signature, the last page of your course syllabus, this is just having parent or guardian giving me an idea. Yes, I would be interested in my son or daughter signing up for the CHS credit, or no, I'm not interested in signing up for the CHS credit. This is not written in stone, inked in blood, or anything like that. It could come back where Savannah says yes, and then you could decide that you're not going to do it, and that would be perfectly fine. Catalyst could say no, and then you go, hey, changed my mind, want to do yes. More than anything, it just gives me an idea who I want to check up with later. Trey marked yes, haven't heard anything about it. Hey, you put yes, is that still the case? No, ended up changing my mind and whatnot. If the finances behind the 245 just doesn't seem to be working right now, let me know. You don't have to raise your hand and go, no, it's not working for me, Mr. King, but you can talk to me after class or something. There are scholarship opportunities. I don't know what is still there. Pitt basically works on a first come, first served basis. So with the fact that we are second semester, I don't know how much money they still have. But they can cut the costs. I don't remember what the exact price would be. It's not a full scholarship where it takes out the $245, but it could be something where you end up paying $100 or $125 instead of the $245. But there's forms in that you have to fill out for that. But I can't promise that is still there. If you do sign up for the financial credit, and for whatever reason they go, no, we don't have it, then you can choose to withdraw. It's not like, well, now you owe us $245 or anything like that. I think they still have the money to kind of help with that. So if that's the situation, let me know, and I can help you with those kinds of forms and paperwork. Any question how the whole CHS thing works? From a GPA standpoint, you get a 0.4 bump. So, your A, your 4.0 turns into a 4.4, your 2.0 turns into a 2.4. I think if you fail, you get a 0. I don't think you're going to be like a 0.4. No special reason why I'm looking at you when I did teach someplace where for like AP you got like a 1. So instead of a 4, you get a 5. And I had a kid fail, but it was like they got a D in a regular class. They still got that 1.0. You'd be like, hey, second semester, senior year. Maybe. Not really. Okay, that's good. Overall stuff with the course, and you kind of go through description. This is things that are coming from Pitt where I kind of have to put this on there. Basically, what Pitt is looking for with this class is it's certainly public speaking. It's certainly some ideas with rhetoric as to how arguments take shape. What it is not is let's just come in and yell at one another. Let's come in and pick on Jack because he says stupid things. Or let's see if we can get Helena riled up by calling her Helena versus Eric DeGrasse. Yeah, that was pretty much what it was. And just yell about whatever. What Pitt's hoping through the argumentation process, and again, this would be whether you sign up for the CHS credit or not. And personally, I don't care if you sign up for the CHS credit or not. I don't get gift cards or state numbers based on the number of people who do sign up. But they're mainly looking at public debate, public forum, where the whole idea is you would have at least two people present differing viewpoints on any given topic, and by going through the debate process, you are educating and informing the audience. So we do have Emily and Jack discuss something. Pick a topic. This is dangerous.
Gun control.
Okay. What's your argument?
I'm pro gun control.
What do you mean by program control? I mean lots of things. You trying to take away my weapons?
Maybe.
You want to change the Bill of Rights in the Constitution? Emily's looking for chops here.
Now everyone's mad.
He's like a communist now. He's trying to change the fundamentals of
Oh,
democracy.
you asked for a topic.
Yeah, but by you answering it, you're really giving like your position.
Well, you asked me for my position.
I know.
Yeah.
And now you're proving that you're a communist.
It's all right.
This would be a good. You should take him on. So the whole point of it wouldn't be to go, Jack's a communist, therefore we should kick him out of the world or the room or anything like that. But if Dante is unsure of his own position, I hear a lot about gun control, Second Amendment rights, and right to bear arms and all that kind of stuff. By them going through the debate, he gets a better idea of what it is that he would believe or agree with. So it's not necessarily you trying to accumulate votes. It's not necessarily Emily trying to embarrass you or vice versa. But by going through that process, you get a better understanding of your own viewpoint. So the ideal version is that people come in objectively. Now, when you deal with the issues like gun control, building walls, DACA, stuff like that, you don't always have that objective viewpoints coming in, and you might be dealing with a situation where everyone is on your side or everyone is against you. We want there to be conflict in the sense that you are going to try to counter-argue Emily's points. She will try to counter-argue yours, because if someone is arguing against your viewpoint, it gives you an opportunity to further substantiate your claim. So I don't want to make it sound like you have to have thick skin because there's going to be arguments going back and forth. There will be, but certainly we're not going, don't listen to Jack, he's a communist, he wants to change the Constitution, he's unpatriotic. At that point, you're getting into logical fallacies. But the whole point is to debate topics so that an audience has better viewpoints about what he, she, or they as a group would ultimately believe in. So that's the main thing that is going to be looking for. We do a variety of assignments in order to do that. Oops, next page. So you see the grade point average and all that stuff is going to be the same. The types of things that we're going to do throughout the semester could be some homework, small assignments like the stuff that you just got with the values. There are some reading assignments that tend to happen more early on. You'll have a reading assignment for like the first few weeks. One of the main things that we'll do throughout the course of the year is research. We use Noodlebib, and it'll take you back to doing like 10th grade research paper and all that kind of stuff, where it's accumulation of sources throughout the course of the year. That's like an ongoing project that it requires us to do. The nice thing about CHS argumentation in comparison to some other classes, like CHS Chem, for example, with Mrs. Biscuit, you had to go to Pitt to do labs. For CHS Business Calc, Mr. Clark, you have Pitt tests that you have to take. Pitt gives us some requirements so far as you need to look up at least 50 sources, and we keep track of those with the Noodlebib throughout the course of the semester, but there's not a Pitt test, there's not a Pitt speech, so to speak, that we have to complete. So it gives us a lot of freedom to do some different things. They do give us some topics that we have to investigate, but we still have flexibility to do a lot of those things. There are going to be some writing assignments that we'll do throughout the course of the year where you'll do some article analyses of some topics that you come up with. We do a midterm exam. I do it as a midterm as opposed to a final because after we go through all the new terminology and whatnot, it's fresh in your mind. Let's take the test then we can move on to the big speaking activities. Final exam, it says exam combining objective and short answer questions. I kind of put that there because I'm supposed to. Final exam, I always like to kind of be a speaking activity. If you're in a speech class, your final assignment may as well be a speech. Certainly the things that most people focus on are going to be the speaking activities that take place, and they'll be the most dominant things. We'll be doing some informal debates. I mentioned like spar debates where you have topics that you can't prepare for, and it's just you arguing about stuff. Gun control would not be one of them. Abortion would not be one of them. Dealing with building a wall would not be one of them. It would be more off the cuff, kind of silly topics, just to kind of get you used to it. Certainly, as we get into more formal things, those heavy hitting topics will come up, and that's certainly something that you'll be able to kind of plan and prepare for. We'll do things like student congress, where you're a legislative body and you're coming up with new laws, modifying laws, and things of that nature. In some instances, you'll be able to pick topics that you want to debate, and partners and all those things, and in others, it kind of might get chosen for you a little bit. I certainly don't say this to scare you, and I'm not trying to cut down on size. When everyone's here, we have 18, which is good. It's an even number. Even numbers are good in speech classes because you can pair up and have even teams and all that kind of stuff. I'm a big proponent against reading a speech. So I don't want Bowen coming up with his speech typed out and he's just reading it line by line because it tends to be him in the podium having a conversation as opposed to him versus us. That does not mean by any means that you need to memorize speeches, where this kind of becomes a theater class. But you'll be using things like note cards or outlines, things of that nature. If that's going to be a concern for you, talk to me about it. It shouldn't be a reason for a person to drop a class, but I don't want you thinking that you're just going to come up and read something word for word, line by line. Certainly, when you do a speech, you'll have plenty of time to research, prepare, look over, where you end up knowing the information. so that I don't forget, because I just noticed someone picking up their weekly syllabus. If you take your weekly syllabus and you flip it over, I think it's on the back, this could be, I have the information for Remind. Some of you use it. I tend to use it pretty frequently. I think it'd be a good idea to sign up for it. If you want to take out a phone right now and send the text and all that kind of stuff to sign up, that's perfectly fine. You want to do it later, that's fine. There's not going to be secret homework assignments coming out through Remind where if you don't sign up for it, you don't get it. But, Thursday, you might forget you have a reading checklist for the lottery and the other article. So, I think it'd probably be a good idea to kind of sign up for that stuff. Any questions? So for Friday, we got a quiz on the lottery and why don't we complain. You're going to fill out the homework sheet, which is the values. The syllabus sheet, that final sheet, give you till Monday to bring that in. That page you can just rip out of the course syllabus when you turn it into me. There's nothing else on the back of it. If you have your syllabus signature ready tomorrow or anytime this week before Monday, you can give it to me early. You don't have to hold on to it, wait until Monday or anything like that. Just a couple things. If you forget what's going on, I always have stuff written on the sideboard. You got your weekly syllabus. We'll get one of those each week to kind of know what's going on. Behind where Erica is sitting is lined paper. So tomorrow, when we start doing notes, if you don't have lined paper, you can always grab it back there. The IQ test in the room is the pencil sharpener. Can you actually sharpen your pencil? It's back there by Wishbone. It's a struggle for some people. Weren't you doing like acrobatic moves to try to sharpen your pencil last year?
I made it work.
You made it work. So if you need help, Nick and his giraffe legs can figure out how. Ray, I don't think was ever too successful at sharpening his pencil.
You doesn't have a graph?
That's the key. So don't ask him. All right. I would get some kind of binder if you don't already have one. I don't think a pocket folder is going to quite suffice because I tend to, make copies of stuff. What everyone has back there looks like an inch binder. That would be perfectly fine. You don't have to get the massive 5-inch AP US History-esque binder. That would be a little. All right. Have a good one. If you have your homework assignment done, you can give it to me on Thursday, otherwise I'll get some from you on Friday, or Monday.
I have zero boundaries.
You too. Yep.
Right, me and Pastor the library.